The party is just hanging out in the woods, probably debating their next move, when this random cat rolls up like it owns the place, demanding their attention. And honestly, who can resist a bipedal tabby in a cloak carrying a loot bag? The group is totally charmed, even though the merchant just hands them a basic tomato. Our blonde knight is looking at the thing like it's a total scam, and the rest of the crew is rightfully confused, expecting some legendary gear instead. But the cat isn't having it, giving them that smug, I know better than you look. Suddenly, the merchant forces them to check the status window, dropping the real tea. Turns out this tiny snack actually burns fat, which is honestly the ultimate cheat code. Now the whole squad is losing their minds over a diet hack that costs half a coin. The crowd is absolutely losing their minds, throwing bags of coins at the cat like it's a black market auction. One guy is literally sweating bullets, demanding to know the source of these magical goods. But the merchant just gives a smug little smirk, keeping his business model strictly classified. Meanwhile, our farmer is wiping sweat off his brow, finally done with the day's grind. He tells his rabbit assistant that the tomato harvest is officially wrapped up for the afternoon. Calling for a well-deserved break, he signals the crew to drop their tools and chill. He starts prepping a container, drizzling some thick glowing sauce inside like a pro chef. A tiny honeybee creature nuzzles up to him, begging for a little taste of the good stuff. The little guy drops a fresh glob of golden honey right into the cup, looking adorable. And with a satisfying click, the farmer seals the container, ready to enjoy his hard-earned snack. Sejun and his squad of rabbits are absolutely vibing, downing their drinks in perfect unison. Seriously, watching a bunch of bunnies chugging juice like it's a frat party is peak comedy. The system pops up with a notification, and honestly, the vibe check is officially failing. This new quest is basically a glorified delivery job with zero pay and a threat of disappointment. Sejun is clearly over it, trying to negotiate with a literal menu screen like it's a stubborn roommate. Just as he's venting, our favorite merchant cat makes a grand entrance, leaping back into the frame. The little guy looks hyped to be back, probably ready to brag about his latest sales. Sejun catches him midair, giving the cat a hero's welcome for being the ultimate hustle partner. Turns out the inventory is completely wiped out, and the bag is overflowing with sweet, sweet coins. Now Sejun is plotting world domination with a smug grin, leaving the poor cat totally shook. The black rabbit is absolutely locked in, swinging that mallet like he's trying to break a world record. While our guy Sejun is just chilling, watching his little homie go full beast mode on the local fish. He suddenly remembers he's got a tally to keep, scratching his head like he's forgotten his own birthday. With a steady hand, he carves another mark into the stone, keeping the grind alive. The wall is basically a graveyard of days, showing just how long he's been stuck in this dungeon. 150 days later, and our boy is still rocking the same white tee. The black rabbit hops onto his shoulder, looking way too proud of that fishing haul. Even the merchant cat is getting in on the action, ready to help out with the hustle. Looking out over his garden, Sejun prepares to dive back into the chaos of the tower. He strikes a pose with his squad, looking like the ultimate boss ready to conquer the day. Our boy Park Sejun is looking fresh, ready to spill the tea on his wild survival journey. 10 years ago, the world basically hit the panic button when a massive black tower dropped into Gangnam. It wasn't just Korea either, because these ominous monoliths started popping up in major cities all across the globe. Governments tried everything to crack them open, but even nukes couldn't put a single scratch on that indestructible material. Then out of nowhere, the walls started leaking people, like the tower finally decided to let some guests out. Naturally, the media swarmed these survivors, shoving microphones in their faces like they were celebrities at a red carpet. Sejun explains the whole black hole situation, acting like getting sucked into a dungeon is just a Tuesday. The internet is absolutely buzzing with articles and social media posts trying to decode the mystery of these towers. Experts are holding press conferences to explain the basics, like how you're forced to pick a class the moment you enter. Someone flashes a golden ticket to the crowd, and suddenly everyone wants to know what kind of loot that gets you. These golden tickets are the only way for normal folks to even sniff the tower's entrance, while the elite awakened crowd gets a free pass to come and go as they please. A reporter at the podium is basically asking the million-dollar question about why anyone would risk it. But the official just shrugs it off because nobody actually knows why these towers exist in the first place. Suddenly, a woman steps up to the mic and dumps a literal mountain of gold coins. The sheer amount of loot is blinding, making everyone in the room lose their collective minds. It's a total feeding frenzy as the media realizes that climbing the tower is a massive payday. News headlines are already screaming about the ticket prices jumping to 200 million won. Meanwhile, a lady at the store is venting to Sejun about how the world has officially lost its marbles. Sejun just gives a nervous laugh, playing it cool while hiding his own secret life as a tower farmer. Sejun is crunching the numbers on his phone, realizing his bank account is looking pretty tragic. He's walking home in the dark, stressing over how these ticket prices keep skyrocketing out of reach. Clutching his bag of groceries, he wonders if he's ever gonna make it into that tower. Staring up at the massive structure looming over the city, he feels like a total underdog. The guy is clearly exhausted from the daily grind, just trying to keep his head above water. Suddenly, he gets a spark of inspiration, eyes widening like he just found a cheat code. He starts pumping himself up, refusing to let the system break his spirit just yet. Looking at his cheap veggies, he thinks maybe he can flip them for a massive profit. He remembers seeing a famous idol promoting a homegrower kit and thinks, why not me? Now he's fully committed to the hustle, dreaming of clearing the tower and joining the big legs. Talk about a glow-up, our boy Sejin is out here proposing to a literal K-pop idol. But let's rewind the clock to when he was just a regular dude carrying groceries. Suddenly, a massive black hole rips through the alleyway, crackling with pure chaotic energy. He's staring at the anomaly like he's just seen a ghost, completely caught off guard. Realizing this is the same portal that snatched the first generation of Awakened, he's shook. His eyes go wide as he wonders if this is his golden ticket to the big legs. He literally screams at the void to take him, showing zero fear and maximum desperation. The portal just hangs there in silence, leaving him hanging like a bad cliffhanger. Panic sets in as the rift starts shrinking, and he's not about to let his dream vanish. He goes full sprint, charging toward the closing portal like his entire future depends on it. Sejin goes full send, diving headfirst into the crackling blue void like a total madman. He hits the ground hard, face-planting into the dirt with a sound that screams pure regret. Dust clouds kick up everywhere as he rolls around, clutching his precious bag of groceries. Dazed and confused, he lifts his head, desperately trying to figure out if he actually made it. His brain is already glitching, hallucinating fancy chandeliers and loot drops that definitely aren't there. Looking up at the sky, he realizes the exit is just a tiny, glowing hole in the ceiling. The reality of his situation starts to sink in, and let's just say it's not exactly a luxury suite. He scans the barren, rocky pit, eyes wide with the realization that he's completely alone. Panic mode is officially activated, with him grabbing his hair and screaming into the empty void. Zooming out, we see him stranded in the middle of a forest, miles away from any civilization. The tower looms over everything like a giant middle finger to the laws of physics. Meanwhile, deep in the shadows, a mysterious orb starts pulsing with some seriously ominous energy. The shadow dragon is watching the feed, clearly sensing that something is totally off balance. He's growling, ready to hunt down whatever is causing this glitch in his precious system. Back in the pit, Sejin is having a full-blown mental breakdown, clutching his head in total despair. He's spiraling, realizing that the dream of a shiny palace was just a massive lie. There's no training ground to save him, just a lonely rock and a whole lot of silence. His face says it all, the realization that he's trapped is hitting him like a freight train. He's desperately checking every corner of the cave, praying for a way out that doesn't exist. Absolute isolation is setting in, and our guy is officially losing his mind in the dark. Sejin is sitting alone in the middle of a massive, dark cavern, looking like a tiny speck in a giant stone bowl. He's laughing to himself, probably realizing that his grand adventure has turned into a survival simulator in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, his phone starts screaming with a loud alarm, scaring the living daylights out of him. He checks the screen and confirms it's been exactly 1 day since he arrived in this desolate pit. His stomach lets out a roar loud enough to echo off the walls, reminding him that he's starving. He lays out his entire inventory on the cold floor, which is basically just a sad collection of produce. Counting his stash, he lists off the cherry tomatoes, green onions, and sweet potatoes like he's doing a final inventory check. He decides to start with the apple, taking a massive, satisfying bite that echoes through the silence. Sitting there in the dark, he savors the sweetness, acting like it's a 5-star meal in a fancy restaurant. He stares at the pathetic apple core left in his hand, clearly disappointed that his breakfast is already over. Sejin goes full beast mode, crunching down on that raw sweet potato like it's a gourmet snack. He's actually vibing with the flavor, looking like he's found the hidden cheat code to survival. Honestly, the texture is surprisingly elite, turning his sad, lonely meal into a total win. He washes it down with a quick gulp of water, keeping the momentum going strong. Then he just flops back onto the cold stone floor, completely spent from the day's grind. He's staring at the ceiling, trying to convince himself that was a 5-star dining experience. The silence of the cavern is deafening as he wonders how long he's actually stuck here. He's tossing and turning, stressing about the clock ticking down on his limited food supply. Staring at his remaining stash, he's doing the math on how many days he's got left. He's spiraling into a dark mood, convinced he's gonna turn into a mummy if nobody shows up. Sejin is spiraling, absolutely refusing to accept that his big tower dream ends in a lonely grave. He stares at the discarded apple core like it's the last piece of evidence of his humanity. Suddenly, he starts digging into the dirt with his bare hands, desperate to plant his meager supplies. The apple core sits abandoned in the dust, a sad reminder of his dwindling food stash. He carefully tears the green onion leaves apart, planning to eat the greens and save the roots. Watering his makeshift garden with his last bottle of water, he's betting everything on this harvest. A look of pure, unhinged determination washes over his face as he vows to survive at any cost. He stands tall over his tiny sprout patch, acting like he's the king of his own underground kingdom. But then a terrifying noise echoes through the cavern, making him jump out of his skin. Looking up at the sky, he realizes the blue moon has arrived, and the real nightmare is just beginning. Sejun is absolutely losing his mind, clutching his head as the blue moon triggers some serious internal chaos. He's curled up in the dirt, trembling as his body reacts to the intense celestial pressure. Looking up, he spots a silhouette of a dragon gliding across the glowing moon. His eyes lock onto the beast, completely mesmerized by the sheer scale of the creature. He's so caught up in the spectacle that he almost forgets he's in a life-or-death situation. Suddenly, he collapses back into the sand, completely drained by the overwhelming energy shift. The green onion stalks nearby start to glow with a strange, magical aura. His hand blindly reaches out across the ground, fumbling for his phone in the dark. He stares at the screen with a dazed expression, trying to process how much time has actually slipped away. The realization hits him like a truck. He's been out cold for 2 whole days. Sejun is clutching his lower back like he's 80 years old, feeling the absolute toll of this dungeon grind. He looks completely drained, sitting in the dirt with that 1,000-yard stare of a man who's hit his limit. Suddenly, he notices something towering over him, looking up in total shock at the massive plant structure. He scrambles to his feet, staring at the giant green onions like they're some kind of alien life form. The sheer size of these things is mind-blowing, especially since they sprouted out of nowhere in just 2 days. He starts questioning his own sanity, wondering if the tower's weird energy is actually juicing up his garden. He leans in close to get a better look, his face lighting up with that classic gamer curiosity. Counting the tiny sprouts on the ground, he realizes he's got a whole army of 52 little guys. He notices the big stalks are casting a massive shadow, realizing his new sprouts are gonna starve for light. He grabs a stalk and starts hacking away, realizing these things are way tougher and thicker than he ever imagined. Sejun wipes the sweat from his brow, finally calling it quits on the green onion harvest. He's staring at the fibrous stalk like it's a gourmet delicacy, wondering if it's actually edible. Without a second thought, he takes a massive, crunchy bite, committing to the culinary gamble. Suddenly, his entire face turns into a literal inferno, his eyes bulging out like a cartoon character. He's gasping for air as the raw spice hits his system, scrambling toward the water like a man possessed. Dunking his face into the stream, he's trying to extinguish the fire raging inside his throat. He finally catches his breath, realizing that while it's insanely spicy, his stomach is somehow holding up. He decides to keep the rest for when he needs a spicy kick, planning to dry the remaining stalks. Sitting back on his rock, he pulls out a cherry tomato and a sweet potato, ready for a real snack. He's deep in thought, wondering how a 10th floor phenomenon like the blue moon ended up in his first floor basement. Sejun is staring at the sky, realizing that massive dragon wasn't just some fevered dream. He's mentally checking the history books, remembering how the Phoenix Guild flexed on the 37th floor. The internet is basically a wiki for low-level dungeon mobs, listing skeletons and goblins for days. He recalls the rumors about orcs and those terrifying spiders lurking on the 31st floor. But nowhere in the lore was there a single mention of a giant, winged lizard. He's lying on his rock, questioning his life choices and wondering exactly where he ended up. The guy is starting to realize he's completely off the map, somewhere even the pros haven't touched. He feels a weird sensation and wonders if it's raining, despite the tower's supposed perfect climate. Suddenly, he's on high alert, crouching down and scanning the area for whatever just moved. Peering down from a ledge, a giant gray rabbit is watching him like he's the main course. This little rabbit is just straight up vibing, looking like it's ready to snack on everything in sight. Sejun is staring at the creature, completely baffled by the fact that a bunny is chilling in his dungeon. Suddenly, the rabbit goes full parkour, launching itself into the air like it's auditioning for an action movie. Our guy is panicking, throwing his hands up and shouting for the little dude to watch his step. The bunny lands perfectly on his head, treating Sejun like a personal jungle gym. It hops down with a casual flair, clearly showing off its superior agility to the confused human. Sejun is staring at the ground, realizing this rabbit is definitely not just some random forest critter. The little guy points directly at the green onion, making it crystal clear what's on the menu. Sejun is questioning his life choices, wondering why he's taking food orders from a literal rabbit. He finally gives in, pulling the onion out of the dirt to satisfy his new furry boss. Sejun hands over a fresh green onion stalk, playing the role of the ultimate snack dealer. The little rabbit is absolutely going to town on that greenery, making it look like a five-star meal. Our guy is just sitting there, offering up more of his stash like he's running a buffet. He's doing a quick mental check of the garden, realizing these crops are growing way too fast. Suddenly, the rabbit starts throwing a tantrum, waving its arms like it's demanding a promotion. It points toward the horizon, clearly signaling that something big is going down outside. The bunny leaps into the air with a burst of energy, practically flying toward the exit. Sejun watches in shock as another rabbit rolls up, looking like it's ready to clock in for a shift. These new arrivals are fully geared up with aprons and watering cans, looking like professional farmhands. Our farmer is standing there, completely stunned that his solitary life just turned into a full-blown operation. Sejun is genuinely baffled, pointing a finger and asking if these rabbits are actually married. The two bunnies are just living their best life, beaming with joy and radiating pure couple energy. Our guy is documenting this weirdness in his diary, standing there like a confused third wheel. The cave has officially become a domestic paradise, with the rabbits settling into their new home. Precision is key, as the pair uses shears to trim the green onions with expert care. Water flows steadily from a tiny can, keeping the garden hydrated and the vibes immaculate. Sejun sits on a rock, watching his furry roommates work while musical notes float through the air. One rabbit carries a massive bundle of greens, looking like a proud provider for his partner. Arms crossed and looking skeptical, Sejun wonders how his life turned into a bizarre sitcom. He is completely floored by the realization that these rabbits are actually planning to move in. The rabbit couple is absolutely radiating pure, wholesome energy, looking like the cutest farmhand duo ever. Sejun is feeling a literal heartthrob moment, completely overwhelmed by how adorable these little guys are. He's struggling to keep his cool, looking like he's about to collapse from the sheer cuteness overload. Trying to play it tough, he tells them he's only interested if they actually pull their weight on the farm. Suddenly, the bunnies launch a surprise attack, tackling him with a full-on cuddle session. He's fighting a losing battle against their fluffiness, admitting he might just adopt them for good. Sitting there in the quiet, he feels like he's being managed by these tiny, furry overlords. He watches them work, realizing their gear is basically a cheat code for his entire operation. The husband rabbit is out here with an infinite watering can, making irrigation look like magic. Meanwhile, the wife rabbit pulls tools from an extra-dimensional apron, leaving Sejun green with envy. Sejun surveys his garden, checking in with his rabbit assistants after they finished their latest task. He gives them clear instructions to dry the harvested green onions, noting the sweet potatoes haven't budged. Crouching down, he marvels at the cherry tomato sprouts, wondering if the rabbits are the secret ingredient. The rabbits look at him with wide, innocent eyes, clearly hiding some kind of magical farming agenda. He sighs, accepting that his new life is just taking orders from a couple of adorable bunnies. Giving them a thumbs up, he signals that they've officially passed his rigorous quality control test. The rabbits chatter away, looking at him with intense focus while he nods along to their PPI talk. Suddenly, the pair bolts away in a blur of motion, leaving a cloud of dust in their wake. Sejun watches them go, completely bewildered by their sudden burst of frantic, mysterious energy. He realizes they're already back to work, digging into the dirt with a shovel like total pros. The rabbit duo is absolutely locked in, digging up the earth like they're hunting for buried treasure. A hand reaches out to place a delicate floral wreath onto a wooden door. The wife rabbit stands back to admire her handiwork, looking way too proud of this tiny burrow. Meanwhile, the husband rabbit is completely gassed, panting on the floor like he just ran a marathon. Sejun stands there in total disbelief, wondering how these bunnies built a house in record time. He gives the husband rabbit a solid thumbs up, acknowledging his legendary work ethic. The wife rabbit skips over with pure joy, clearly ready to celebrate their new home. Sejun is honestly feeling a bit jealous of their domestic bliss, wishing he had that kind of energy. He wanders through his garden, reflecting on how much better life is with his furry roommates. Finally, he kicks back on a pile of green onions, soaking in the peace of his weird new life. Sejun is out here playing survivalist, trying to spark a flame with a plastic water bottle. He's literally dancing around like a maniac because the heat is getting way too real. Rolling on the ground in pure agony, he's screaming about his back being on fire. He stares at the pile of smoldering green onions, wondering how his science experiment went so wrong. Confusion hits him hard as he realizes the bottle is just sitting there, mocking his failure. That look of absolute shock on his face says it all. He really thought he had this. He's still trying to process the harsh reality of the tower's unforgiving environment. Despite the setback, he's still got that stubborn glint in his eye, refusing to give up. He's looking at his supplies, trying to figure out a new angle for his next attempt. And just like that, he's back to square one, crying over his failed fire-starting attempt. Sejun is losing his mind because his DIY fire starter is just smoking. He's huffing and puffing over the leaves like he's trying to blow a house down. Looking up in total confusion, he wonders why his genius plan is failing so hard. Suddenly, the rabbit couple pops out of their burrow to see what the noise is about. They stare at the struggling human, probably wondering why he's making such a scene. Desperate for a win, Sejun starts begging the universe for a spark to finally catch. The bunnies watch him with those big, judging eyes, clearly unimpressed by his lack of progress. He pivots to his new strategy, asking the rabbits to help him fan the flames. One rabbit leans in close, blowing a steady stream of air onto the smoldering spot. Holding the water bottle high, Sejun prays for the light to finally ignite the pile. The pile of green onions finally catches, erupting into a glorious crackling bonfire. Sejun is losing his mind with excitement, shouting that his survival plan actually worked. He stares at the flames in disbelief, realizing he's finally conquered the art of fire. The green onion stalk roasts perfectly over the heat, turning into a golden, charred masterpiece. Humming a happy tune, he carefully rotates the onion while his rabbit buddies watch intently. He pulls the stalk away, satisfied that it's cooked enough to finally be edible. Peeling off the burnt outer layer, he prepares to taste the fruits of his labor. He takes a massive bite, bracing himself for the flavor that's about to hit. Suddenly, his eyes go wide as a sugary, intense sweetness floods his entire brain. He's hallucinating a wild green horse galloping through a field, completely blown away by the taste. Sejun is living the dream, sharing a roasted green onion snack with his furry little farmhands. The husband rabbit is locked in, carefully tending to the fire like a seasoned pitmaster. Both bunnies are munching away with zero hesitation, clearly vibing with the charred, savory flavor. Their eyes are literally sparkling with pure joy, acting like this is the best meal of their lives. Sejun is documenting his survival diary, feeling like a proud dad watching his team eat. He stretches out his arms, finally feeling refreshed after a solid night of actual sleep. Splashing cold water on his face, he's washing off the grime of the dungeon life. He surveys his thriving garden, looking at the tomato plants like they're his own children. The green onion harvest is officially wrapped up, leaving the patch looking neat and tidy. He finishes his morning chores by watering the tomatoes, keeping the farm running like clockwork. Sejun is checking off his to-do list, confirming the sweet potatoes are finally watered. He's feeling like a total boss standing over his crops, soaking in the good vibes. Looking back on the grind, he realizes his life has been a chaotic mess lately. They've been busy crafting green onion torches to light up every corner of the cave. Wandering around is way easier now that he isn't stumbling through the pitch-black darkness. He approaches the pond with a torch in hand, hoping to shed some light on the water. Suddenly, a blue-scaled fish launches itself out of the depths like a total jump scare. Sejun reacts on pure instinct, swinging his torch and swatting the fish out of the air. He stands there in shock, staring at the flopping catch while the rabbits watch in awe. Turns out these fish are basically moths to a flame, making dinner way easier to catch. That blue-scaled fish is roasting perfectly over the fire, wrapped in those fibrous green onion leaves. Sejun sits back, ready to dig into his hard-earned meal like it's a five-star feast. He takes a massive, glorious bite, clearly savoring every single morsel of that charred, savory goodness. With a huge grin on his face, he admits that the flavor is absolutely top tier. The rabbit couple watches him with wide eyes, looking like they're waiting for a taste test. He jokes about them eating meat too, realizing they're all just monsters in this crazy tower. The blue moon hits again, reminding him that this celestial nightmare happens every 30 days. His tech setup is looking sad, with the laptop and power bank finally hitting their limit. The phone screen goes dark, showing that dreaded red battery icon that signals the end of his digital life. He's resorted to carving tally marks into the cave wall, officially marking 61 days of survival. Sejun has finally cracked the code to timekeeping by syncing his schedule with the rabbits. He knows exactly when they wake up and hit the hay, keeping his internal clock perfectly calibrated. A few days back, the morning routine got a whole lot cuter when the burrow door swung open. The husband rabbit popped out to greet him, looking like a tiny, furry professional ready for the shift. Suddenly, a whole squad of baby rabbits came tumbling out, turning the cave into a chaotic daycare. Sejun is absolutely beaming, looking like the happiest uncle in the entire tower. He gets swarmed by the little fluffballs, getting tackled into the dirt by pure, unadulterated cuteness. Lying on the ground, he's soaking up the affection while the babies crawl all over his shirt. He tells the parents to take a break and grab some breakfast while he handles the babysitting. Now he's parading his new army of helpers through the tomato patch, living his best life as a farmer. Sejun is geeking out over his new flower garden, realizing he's basically become a full-time botanist. He's stressing about the pollination grind, wishing he had a literal bee to do the heavy lifting. But then he gets a bright idea, using a tiny twig to help his rabbit buddy pollinate the blooms. The little bunny gets way too close to the flower, sniffing around like it's the best thing ever. Suddenly the rabbit sneezes right into the petals, and Sejun can't help but burst out laughing. He warns the little guy to watch his nose, because inhaling all that pollen is definitely not the move. Out of nowhere, a tiny green tomato pops up, and Sejun is absolutely losing his mind with hype. He's doing a victory dance with the rabbit, celebrating the fact that their hard work finally paid off. The clock is ticking down to the blue moon, but at least they've got some fresh snacks growing. Sejun suits up in his DIY green onion ghillie suit, looking ready to survive the night in style. Sejun shields his eyes from the light, sensing the blue moon is finally creeping in. He gives the rabbit a quick goodbye, hoping they both make it through the night alive. Acting like he's got it all under control, he gives a thumbs up to hide his nerves. But the reality hits him hard as the cave plunges into a cold, eerie blue glow. He's huddled in the dark, listening to the terrifying roars echoing from the depths outside. Every second feels like an eternity while he waits for the chaos to finally pass. His body is shaking uncontrollably, even though the monsters sound like they're miles away. Suddenly, a massive bone-chilling thud echoes through the cavern, snapping him into full panic mode. A gargantuan, razor-sharp claw slams into the ground, shattering the stone floor like it's nothing. The massive red bear towers over the entrance, looking like an absolute unit of pure destruction. That massive red bear is literally blocking out the moon, looking like a furry nightmare come to life. Sejun is shaking in his boots, hiding under his green onion hood like it's some kind of invisibility cloak. The beast looks absolutely ravenous, drooling all over the place with those jagged, terrifying fangs. Our boy is sweating bullets, praying the monster doesn't sniff out his pathetic little hiding spot. He reaches for his bag, trying to pack up his gear without making a single sound. Moving with the grace of a panicked squirrel, he fumbles his stash of cherry tomatoes. The items scatter across the floor, leaving him exposed and completely vulnerable in the dark. That giant bear looms over him, casting a shadow that feels like a death sentence. Sejun lets out a desperate, high-pitched scream, realizing he's officially run out of luck. The monster lunges forward with a roar, ready to turn our favorite farmer into a midnight snack. Sejun is barely holding it together, trying to shoo away the baby rabbits while his brain is still fried. But the husband rabbit isn't having any of his nonsense, delivering a swift, physical reality check to the face. He's left reeling from the sudden smack, eyes wide and completely stunned by the unexpected discipline. Sitting there in the dirt, he's trying to piece together the chaos of the last few hours. The husband rabbit stands tall, looking like a tiny, furry drill sergeant who doesn't tolerate any slackers. Sejun clutches his aching head, realizing he's been out of commission for way too long. He's frantically scanning his memory, trying to recall exactly how he survived that brush with death. The realization hits him like a ton of bricks. He was inches away from becoming a bear's dinner. He's still wearing his makeshift green onion ghillie suit, looking like a traumatized salad. Shivering uncontrollably, he curls into a ball, feeling the lingering chill of the blue moon's aftermath. The rabbit is keeping a sharp eye on the perimeter, acting like the ultimate security guard. Sejun sits by the fire wrapped in his onion cloak, looking like a man who's seen a ghost. His furry little roommate trots over with a fresh fish, clearly playing the role of the provider. He takes a massive, desperate bite of the roasted fish, trying to regain some of his lost strength. The exhaustion is written all over his face as he munches away with his tiny, fluffy companions. He's deep in thought, wondering if that monster just got bored or if he actually got lucky. Staring at the fish, he realizes that his survival is hanging by a literal thread. He knows he's gotta keep grinding, because in this tower you're either eating or getting eaten. He tears into the meal with a renewed intensity, proving he's not going down without a fight. The rabbit cheers him on with a high-pitched squeak, ready to keep the farm operation rolling. A single cherry tomato glows with an eerie, supernatural blue light, looking like it belongs in a sci-fi flick. Sejun stares at the plant in total shock, wondering how his crop grew to the size of a golf ball overnight. He leans in closer to inspect the weird fruit, genuinely confused by its unnatural, vibrant color. Plucking the tomato from the vine, he wonders if it's actually ready to eat or just some strange mutation. Suddenly, a system window pops up right in his face, making him jump out of his skin. The text confirms he's finished a quest by harvesting a fruit infused with the blue moon's energy. Another notification pings, warning him that his farming skills have officially caught the tower manager's attention. The system starts spamming him with ominous alerts, claiming the manager is watching and feeling pretty salty. Sejun kneels there with his rabbit buddy, looking completely baffled as to why the big boss is acting so petty. The final message drops the bombshell that he's an uninvited guest and the manager wants to bury the evidence. Sejun is absolutely losing his mind, reading that the tower manager considers his existence a total blunder. He's crouched in the dirt, shouting at the sky about how he's been grinding here for 61 days. The system drops another bombshell, casually mentioning that the manager is debating whether to just delete him. Our guy is spiraling, screaming that he even unlocked an achievement and deserves a reward, not a hitman. He pauses for a second, looking genuinely concerned that he might have been a bit too aggressive with the system. Suddenly, the screen pings with a new notification, announcing that the process of awakening is finally starting. Blue energy swirls around him like a magical tornado, and he's left wondering if this is the real deal. He's standing in the middle of the light, questioning if he's finally becoming an official tower player. His heart is racing as he waits for his class, hoping for something cool like a wizard or swordsman. The system hits him with the final reveal, and he's officially crowned as a lowly tower farmer. The system starts dumping perks like disease immunity and nature connection, but Sejun is absolutely spiraling. He's literally begging the void to reconsider, screaming that he didn't sign up to be a gardener. His eyes are bulging out of his skull as he finally pulls up his status window. The screen glows with the cold, hard truth: Level 1, ordinary talent, and the dreaded job title. He stares at the floating blue box like it just insulted his entire bloodline. Suddenly, we flash forward to a slick media interview where he's rocking a sharp red suit. The host is hyping him up as a legend who conquered the tower despite his mid-tier stats. He sits there looking like a total boss, playing it cool while the cameras are rolling. When asked about his job, he drops the bomb with a smirk, embracing the farmer life. But back in the cave, he's still losing his mind, clutching his head in total denial. Sejun is absolutely losing his mind, ready to chuck that mysterious blue fruit across the room. He freezes mid-throw, realizing he might have just overreacted to a simple piece of produce. The rabbit family watches him with pure confusion, probably wondering why their human is acting so unhinged. He stares at the glowing tomato in his hand, finally processing the gravity of what he's holding. Standing in the middle of his garden, he decides that farming is his only path forward now. A magical interface locks onto the fruit, scanning it like it's some kind of high-tech artifact. The system pings with a notification, and Sejun looks like he's just seen a ghost. A detailed status window pops up, confirming this isn't just a snack but a legit rank E item. He's completely floored by the discovery, shouting that he can't believe he actually farmed an item. Scratching his head in disbelief, he starts bragging to the rabbits about his legendary green thumb. The shadow dragon looms over the garden, fixated on the crops like a predator stalking its prey. A low growl vibrates through the dark, signaling that this beast is definitely not here for a chat. Sejun is caught in the middle of a wholesome moment, oblivious to the massive threat watching him. Suddenly, a system window flashes into existence, interrupting his peaceful day with a jarring blue glow. He stares at the screen in disbelief, reading the fine print of this forced high-stakes quest. The word death is plastered across his vision, making it clear that failure isn't an option. He clutches the blue fruit, looking absolutely rattled as the reality of the situation sinks in. Another notification pops up, confirming the system is dead set on this ridiculous demand. He's visibly shaken, realizing that his survival is once again being dictated by a cold, unfeeling machine. Pointing an accusing finger at the air, he calls out the system for its blatant, high-stakes blackmail. Sejun is straight up roasting the system for its cold-blooded threats, calling out how messed up it is to dangle death over his head. He bows down with the blue fruit in his hands, acting like a desperate peasant begging for his life. That glowing tomato is vibrating with pure energy, looking like it's ready to explode or do something wild. Suddenly, the system screen flashes a massive notification, signaling that he's officially cleared the objective. He stares at the screen in total shock, realizing he actually survived the encounter without getting deleted. A wave of relief washes over him as he realizes he's getting a legit skill reward. He taps the screen with a trembling finger, ready to see what kind of power he's unlocked. The system reveals he's gained the sowing skill, which is basically a buff for his farming grind. Standing in his garden with the bunnies, he finally accepts that his destiny is tied to these crops. He lights up a fresh green onion torch, ready to keep the light burning in this dark, crazy tower. Sejun is holding his torch high, watching as a massive blue-scaled piranha leaps right out of the water. He doesn't even hesitate, swinging his green onion stalk like a baseball bat to smack the fish midair. The piranha hits the ground hard, and a system window pops up to confirm the kill. He checks his status, seeing the experience points stack up as he grinds for those precious levels. After days of this cycle, he finally hits level 2, feeling like a total beast in the cave. He's hauling a bunch of fish back, trying to balance his need for protein with his moral compass. Looking hyped, he shows off the freshly roasted catch to his furry little roommates. He shouts for them to come and eat, and the baby rabbits swarm him like it's a buffet. He watches the little ones chow down, reminding them to save some for their parents. It turns out these farmer white rabbits are a whole new species he never saw back home. Sejun is breaking down the lore, realizing these bunnies are built for farming, not throwing hands. That's probably why they're still off the radar, just chilling and living their best agricultural lives. He's sitting there pondering their origin story, wondering how they ended up in this dusty cave. Maybe they got kicked off their own farm and just wandered until they found him. He's still wishing for a universal translator because the whole PPIing thing is getting old. Shaking off the existential dread, he decides it's time to get back to the main event. The tomatoes are looking absolutely juicy, hanging there like little red rubies waiting for the harvest. He's losing his mind with hype, eyes wide as he reaches out to grab the first one. With a satisfying pop, the fruit comes right off the vine, perfectly ripe and ready to go. Holding that tiny tomato up like a trophy, he's officially celebrating his first real farming win. Sejun is staring at his status window like it just dropped the secrets of the universe. He's holding a single cherry tomato, realizing the system is actually tracking his harvest quality. The system breaks down the stats, showing that these magical fruits are basically cheat codes for his body. He's surrounded by his rabbit squad, trying to explain the math behind stacking these buffs for max efficiency. Plucking another one off the vine, he's getting the hang of this whole farming grind. He carefully picks another, watching the system confirm it's the high-quality stuff he needs. Things go sideways when he grabs an unripe one, and the system immediately roasts his technique. He's looking at the dud in his hand, realizing that being a farmer is way more technical than he thought. He's back to the grind, carefully inspecting every single tomato like he's a diamond appraiser. He finally levels up to 4 and decides it's high time to treat himself to a snack. The rabbit squad is absolutely fed up, stomping their little feet and looking ready to throw hands. Sejun is trying to play it cool, laughing off the tension while offering a leaf full of tomatoes. The husband rabbit isn't buying the apology, staring him down with a serious, no-nonsense glare. Finally, the vibe shifts as everyone gathers around to celebrate their hard-earned harvest together. The bunnies are locked in, munching away on those juicy tomatoes like their gourmet snacks. Sejun takes a bite himself, savoring the flavor while a tiny drop of juice escapes his lip. Suddenly, his eyes go wide as he realizes the sheer quality of this crop is off the charts. He's lying back in the grass, feeling like a king surrounded by his tiny furry farmhands. Looking up at the night sky, he watches a shooting star streak across the dark expanse. The star explodes into a brilliant firework, marking a legendary moment in his survival journey. Sejun is chilling in the grass, surrounded by his tiny, adorable rabbit army. The vibe is immaculate as he watches fireworks paint the night sky in vibrant colors. A single tear rolls down his cheek, feeling the weight of his bizarre, lonely summer. He shares a quiet moment with the rabbits, snacking on tomatoes while the world burns outside. The bunnies communicate with their signature PPI sounds, clearly vibing with their human roommate. It is a full-blown operation now, with the little ones hauling tomatoes like tiny, furry workers. The parents keep a watchful eye on the harvest, ensuring every single tomato is accounted for. Those baby rabbits are putting in work, dragging green onion stalks around like they own the place. Sejun watches his little farmhands from afar, feeling like a proud, exhausted dad watching his kids. He is wrapped in his signature onion cloak, fully embracing his role as the legendary tower farmer. Sejun is tucking himself into his green onion sleeping bag, ready to call it a day. He's feeling pretty good about his grind, even if the system is a total taskmaster. Suddenly, a blue quest window pops up out of nowhere, ruining his plans for some shut-eye. The system demands 100 magical tomatoes, threatening him with death if he dares to refuse. He's tossing and turning, trying to ignore the glowing screen while he desperately needs some sleep. The constant pinging of the system alerts finally forces him to snap wide awake in frustration. He's scrambling to gather his harvest, shouting that he'll get the job done just to survive. Clutching the basket of tomatoes, he stares down the quest window and demands a decent reward. The system finally grants him the harvest skill, which magically perfects any fruit he picks. He realizes this skill is actually a total game changer, making his farming life way more efficient. Another quest notification pops up, demanding 200 tomatoes with the usual threat of death. Sejun is completely fed up, calling the system out for being a straight-up thief. He holds out a handful of produce, clearly annoyed that he has to pay this toll. Just when he thinks he is done, the system hits him with another ridiculous demand. The number keeps climbing higher, and he is losing his mind over the sheer greed. 500 tomatoes are now required, and the system still offers absolutely zero reward. The screen flashes the demand in massive text, making the situation feel even more desperate. He finally snaps, staring blankly at the air as he decides he has had enough. Standing alone in his garden, he officially draws a line in the sand against the manager. He goes full beast mode, screaming at the system that he needs those crops to survive. The tower manager is back at it, basically telling Sejun that his struggle is a personal problem. Sejun just flashes a cold, sarcastic smirk, clearly done with this digital bully's attitude. He grips his green onion stalk tight, his knuckles turning white as he remembers the grueling labor. The system tries to gaslight him again, claiming that sowing a few seeds is no big deal. That comment snaps something inside him, and he stares back with a look of pure, unadulterated defiance. He flat out refuses to hand over the goods, drawing a hard line in the dirt. The system gets flustered, probably not used to a lowly farmer having a backbone. He keeps working alongside his rabbit buddy, completely ignoring the annoying pop-ups hovering in the air. Even with the threat of death hanging over his head, he's not backing down from this standoff. He sighs, looking exhausted but firm, as he tells the manager that the crops are staying put. Sejun is straight up venting to the void, calling out the manager for being a total deadbeat boss. He's got that look of pure, tired resentment, realizing he's been grinding for nothing but scraps. Suddenly, the black dragon looms over him, crackling with raw magical energy like a living storm. The beast bows its head low, looking genuinely regretful as it tries to offer an apology. Meanwhile, Sejun is busy stuffing his face with tomatoes, completely ignoring the dragon's dramatic mood swing. The system pings him with a threat, but he just plugs his ears like a rebellious teenager. He holds up a handful of tomatoes, basically telling the manager to take what he gets. The rabbit family watches the standoff, looking worried as their human plays a dangerous game of chicken. Finally, the system caves, flashing a message that it's willing to compromise just this once. Sejun lets out a smug smirk, knowing he's finally got the upper hand in this twisted negotiation. Sejun sits in the cave, looking up at the light with a weirdly calm realization. He's finally cracked the code on the tower manager, thinking the entity is way simpler than he feared. 91 days have passed since he first got stranded, and the fourth blue moon is officially here. He's huddled up in his green onion cloak, munching on a tomato like it's his only line of defense. Our guy is banking on the idea that high mana can help him tank the monster roars. He's praying that whatever nightmare went down last time doesn't repeat itself tonight. The garden sits in the dark, and he's just wishing for the clock to speed up. Suddenly, the moonlight hits the plants, and the whole patch starts glowing like a rave. Sejun's eyes go wide as he realizes the magic is actually warping his crops in real time. The green tomatoes are literally transforming into deep blue ones, and the hype is officially off the charts. Sejun is absolutely buzzing with excitement, eyes wide as he stares down his glowing crop. He notices the sweet potato leaves are catching that eerie blue light, looking totally surreal. Scanning the cave with a frantic look, he realizes the transformation is happening right now. He scrambles over to the garden, moving with the speed of a man who just hit the jackpot. His hands reach into the dirt, trembling as he prepares to pull the prize from the earth. Kneeling in the middle of his makeshift farm, he looks like he's about to unearth a treasure. He lets out a shout of pure joy, realizing he's finally found the legendary blue sweet potato. Holding the glowing purple tuber high, he watches the system confirm its insane rank and stats. Notifications flood his vision, showing his proficiency maxing out and his experience points skyrocketing. Turning his head, he spots a single blue tomato, realizing the harvest is just getting started. Sejun is absolutely buzzing, holding his glowing blue loot like he just hit the jackpot. That smug look on his face says he knew the system would try to pull a fast one. Double quests pop up with the usual death threats because the tower manager is clearly a petty tyrant. He decides to play along for now, offering up the tomatoes to keep the heat off his back. The system starts acting like a needy toddler, whining about his progress while he holds the sweet potato. He calls the manager's bluff, betting that the system is just trying to scare him into submission. Staring at the rare blue harvest, he wonders if he should just eat the evidence instead. He tosses the glowing tomato into his mouth, deciding that personal gains beat quest rewards any day. Fireworks of pure mana explode in his status window, boosting his stats while he celebrates the flavor. He settles by the fire with his trusty onion leaves, ready to cook up a feast like a true king. The wooden door to the rabbit burrow creaks open, revealing the secret entrance to their cozy home. Out pop the husband and wife rabbits along with their tiny, fluffy brood, all looking curious. Sejun greets them with a massive grin, clearly hyped that his little roommates finally showed up. He proudly presents the steaming, green onion-wrapped sweet potato, acting like he's serving a five-star meal. The rabbits stare at the food with wide, sparkling eyes, practically drooling at the delicious aroma. Suddenly, the husband rabbit jumps in front of the others, looking like he's got something important to say. Sejun looks confused, asking what's wrong while the rabbits chatter away in their adorable PPI language. He realizes the rabbit wants him to eat the prize alone since there is only one. Tears well up in Sejun's eyes as he feels genuinely touched by the little guy's selfless gesture. He pets the husband rabbit's head, feeling like the luckiest guy in the tower to have such friends. Sejun keeps his little secret under wraps, grinning like he didn't just pull a fast one. He decides to take the plunge and finally chow down on that steaming blue potato. The first bite goes in, and he's feeling like a total champion of the tower. But that confidence vanishes instantly as he realizes the thing is literally molten lava hot. His tongue is basically toast, and the poor rabbits look absolutely traumatized by his sudden outburst. The potato hits the dirt with a thud, and the bunnies are left staring at the wreckage. They decide to investigate the fallen snack, poking at the pieces with their tiny paws. Curiosity gets the better of them, and they start munching on the blue chunks. Disaster strikes as the heat hits their little mouths, and they start spitting it out in a panic. Sejun watches the chaos unfold, realizing his gourmet dinner just turned into a total disaster zone. That blue sweet potato was a total trap, leaving nothing but steam and regret on the cave floor. Sejun stands tall, dropping the hammer on his rabbit squad about the new planting schedule. He tries to explain the situation to the confused bunnies, pointing out exactly what they just snacked on. Pointing a finger like a stern teacher, he bans them from touching those precious sprouts again. The little guys look absolutely devastated, crying their eyes out because their favorite snack is officially off limits. He tries to reason with the tiny mob, but they are clearly too hangry to listen to logic. Changing his tune, he offers a sweet deal to get them back to work on the farm. He flashes a slightly unhinged, desperate grin, promising them special snacks if they just cooperate. The rabbits instantly forget their trauma, their eyes sparkling with pure, unadulterated greed for those treats. Sejun claps his hands in victory, watching his adorable, easily bribed workforce march off to the fields. Sejun is schooling his rabbit assistant on the fine art of long-term farming. He's making it clear that one onion needs to bloom so they can secure future seeds. The little bunny nods along, ready to put in the work with those tiny garden shears. Meanwhile, the rest of the rabbit squad is busy planting sprouts like they're on a mission. Even the wife rabbit is getting in on the action, watering the crops with professional precision. Sejun is absolutely beaming as he inspects his latest haul of perfectly ripe cherry tomatoes. The system starts spamming notifications, confirming his harvest proficiency is finally hitting the next level. He's officially leveled up to rank E, feeling like he's finally getting the hang of this. Our guy decides to celebrate the grind by roasting some snacks over a fresh fire. He notices the tower manager is watching his cooking, and he's not even trying to hide his sass. Sejun calls his rabbit roommates over for a snack, waving his hand like he's hosting a five-star dinner party. The bunnies hop over, clearly hyped to see what their favorite human has cooked up for them today. He shows off the roasted cherry tomato skewers, looking like a proud chef presenting his signature dish. The rabbits swarm the food, munching away with pure joy while the skewers sparkle in the cave light. He reminds the little guys to blow on the hot tomatoes before taking a bite, acting like a total dad. After the snack, he pivots to business, asking the squad if they are ready to dig up some dinner. He gets down in the dirt, digging into the earth with his hands to reveal the hidden crop. Suddenly, he pulls up a vine of sweet potatoes, looking absolutely shocked by the size of his harvest. The system pings with a notification, revealing these are strength sweet potatoes that boost his stats and help with digestion. He counts up his 15 potatoes, feeling pretty satisfied with his first successful run at this farming gig. Sejun stares down at the sweet potato sprouts, realizing he's been neglecting the potential of his own garden. He drops to his knees, determined to plant every single sprout to squeeze out every bit of efficiency. A system notification pings, confirming that his sowing skill is actually leveling up from the manual labor. He looks absolutely shook, realizing that he's been sleeping on a massive grind opportunity this whole time. Suddenly, the rabbits start messing with the crops, and he has to jump in to stop the chaos. Meanwhile, the black dragon is busy rummaging through a stack of books like a bored librarian. It pulls out a skewer of roasted cherry tomatoes, looking curious about this human snack. The dragon takes a tentative bite, its eyes widening as it samples the treat. Immediately, it spits the skin out in disgust, complaining that the exterior is way too bitter. But then it chews the center, realizing the sweetness is actually top tier and totally worth the effort. The black dragon is spying through a magical orb, clearly obsessed with Sejun's every move. Inside the glowing bubble, our guy is just chilling with a bunny and a snack. The dragon looks genuinely shook, unable to believe Sejun is actually living his best life. It starts throwing a tantrum, furious that these punks are roasting potatoes without its royal presence. A system window pops up out of nowhere, hitting Sejun with yet another annoying quest. The demand is brutal: hand over a roasted sweet potato or face immediate death. Sejun just looks bored, staring at the screen with a mouthful of food like it's nothing. He casually hits the postpone button, refusing to let the system ruin his lunch break. The manager keeps pestering him, but Sejun just negotiates for a better reward like a pro. Finally, the system caves and offers a job-related skill, proving that even a god can be bullied. Sejun is holding a leaf of sweet potato, basically flexing his farming skills to the system. He taps the glowing quest window with his finger, ready to claim his hard-earned prize. The screen confirms he's unlocked the level 1 seed store, a total game-changer for his survival. He's squatting down with his rabbit squad, hyped out of his mind that he finally got a shot. He hits the activation button, his hand reaching out as if he's grabbing the future itself. The system immediately checks his records, only to find he's a total ghost in the economy. He's sweating a bit, wondering how he's supposed to shop when he's broke as a joke. Suddenly, the system drops a welcome gift, hooking him up with his very first tower coin. He's absolutely buzzing, treating that single coin like it's $1 million winning lottery ticket. Now he's staring at the shop menu, wondering what kind of loot he can snag with his new cash. The system drops the rules for his new shop, making it clear he is stuck in the rookie tier. He gets a look at the inventory, seeing red pepper, cabbage, and carrot seeds all priced at zero point 0.1 coins. He does the mental math and realizes that 1,000 seeds will cost him a small fortune. Looking at the options, he immediately writes off the peppers and cabbage since he cannot make kimchi. He pauses to think about what is actually worth his limited budget. Suddenly, the rabbit family swarms him, their ears perking up at the mere mention of carrots. He notices their intense reaction and wonders what has gotten them so worked up. Asking if they want to eat carrots, he watches their eyes light up with pure, unadulterated joy. The bunnies start flapping their ears in excitement, practically vibrating with the thought of a carrot feast. He leans in with a grin, realizing he has found the perfect crop to keep his furry squad happy. Sejun is basically holding a town hall meeting with the bunnies, and they are absolutely losing their minds. One of the rabbits gets way too hyped and straight up face plants into Sejun's nose. The system confirms the purchase of 1,000 carrot seeds, draining his hard-earned coins in a flash. He's holding the tiny red pouch, realizing he just paid a premium for the packaging itself. The system is acting like a total creep, claiming it's satisfied with the transaction. Sejun is back in the garden, ready to start the carrot grind with his furry little squad. A random bee pops up to check out the scene, looking like it's ready to help with the pollination. The bee is just vibing on the leaves, looking cute but probably plotting some serious work. He's chilling on a rock with a baby bunny, watching the rest of the family guard the carrot patch. He decides to take a well-deserved nap, leaving the farm chores for later in the afternoon. Sejun is dead to the world, catching some much-needed ZS while the cave stays quiet. But then a weird buzzing sound starts creeping into his ears, ruining his peaceful nap. He bolts upright like he just got hit with a jump scare, totally confused by the noise. Hovering right in front of him is this tiny, winged creature that looks like a literal bug. The little thing tilts its head with a cute sound, looking innocent enough to be a pet. Sejun stares at it, his brain trying to process if this is a friend or a foe. He starts cooing at the critter, completely charmed by its big purple eyes and tiny wings. Then the system pops up a notification, and the vibe shifts from cute to absolute panic. Seeing the words poison honeybee, his face goes pale as he realizes he is in deep trouble. He starts frantically pointing at the bug, trying to warn his rabbit squad that danger is literally buzzing around them. The rabbit squad is absolutely booking it, scurrying away in a total panic. Sejun is losing his mind, screaming at the top of his lungs about being abandoned. The system drops a lore bomb, confirming these bees are flesh-eating monsters with lethal stingers. He's waving his arms like a windmill, trying to shoo the bug away from his garden. Panic mode is fully activated as he begs for his life, claiming he's just skin and bones. He grips a green onion stalk for dear life, ready to defend his patch at all costs. Desperation hits a new high as he tries to bribe the monster with a snack. The bee ignores the offering, hovering over the flowers with a weirdly focused intensity. It starts sniffing the blossoms like a regular pollinator, completely ignoring the drama. Sejun pauses, wiping sweat from his brow as he realizes the situation might not be lethal. Sejun watches in total disbelief as the supposed flesh-eater just starts sipping nectar. The little bee looks absolutely adorable, glowing with a happy aura while it works the flower. He confronts the system, questioning why it labeled this cute bug as a dangerous monster. A sudden realization hits him like a truck: the bee is just looking for some moisture. He decides to embrace the chaos, greeting the honeybee like he's welcoming a new business partner. Offering up his entire garden, he tells the bug to feast until it literally cannot move. The bee zips around with pure joy, clearly loving its new life as a professional pollinator. Our guy flashes a smug grin, realizing he just outsourced his hardest farm labor for free. He turns his attention to the rabbits, roasting them for abandoning him when things got scary. The bunnies swarm his legs, begging for forgiveness while he plays the role of the offended king. Sejun is sweating bullets as the little bee hovers right in his face. He's trying to keep his cool while the creature zips around him like a tiny, buzzing drone. That bug lands right on his chest, and he's staring at it with wide, terrified eyes. Suddenly, the bee curls up in his pocket for a nap, looking like the cutest little stowaway. He's sitting on his rock throne with the rabbit squad, still paranoid about getting stung. The passage of time is marked on the wall, hitting a solid 120 days. Life in the tower keeps moving, with the rabbits watering crops like tiny, dedicated farmers. He's trying to focus on his work, but the bunnies are acting like hyperactive toddlers. Watching them play, he can't help but smile at the chaotic energy of his little family. That bee finally finds a cozy spot on his shoulder, officially becoming the newest member of the crew. It's been weeks since the poison honeybee moved in, and Sejun is basically living his best life. He calls his little rabbit squad over for lunch, acting like the ultimate farm boss. The whole crew sits by the fire, munching on snacks while the bee hangs out on his shoulder. Turns out the bee has been spitting out this golden honey, which is a total game changer. The system confirms the recipe for honey onion, a sweet and savory combo that sounds absolutely cracked. Sejun takes a bite and is instantly hooked, while the rabbits look like they're in heaven. He admits he was terrified of the bug at first, but now he's laughing all the way to the bank. He's already dreaming of a future where he's swimming in honey, and the system is actually vibing with him. Then he checks the wall tally and realizes the blue moon event is creeping up on them again. He gets a serious look on his face, clearly stressing about what kind of chaos the moon will bring this time. Things are looking chill in the cavern, and it seems like they've dodged another disaster. 121 days deep into this nightmare, and Sejun is still stacking his harvest. He's got a solid haul of tomatoes and feels like he's finally got enough rations to survive. Noticing the poison honeybee has gone MIA, he figures the bug is just hunkering down for the moon. The rabbit family is acting super twitchy, huddled together like they're sensing a massive storm coming. Sejun notices the vibe is totally off, and he's ready to call it a day before things get weird. He tries to round up the squad to head back to safety, but they're already in full panic mode. Suddenly the bunnies bolt, leaving him standing there completely confused as they scramble for the burrow. He watches them dive into the hole like they're dodging a sniper, leaving him totally solo in the dark. The husband and wife rabbits peek out one last time, waving a frantic goodbye before slamming the door. Sejun is absolutely losing his mind, screaming at the parents for ditching their own kids. He looks up at the ceiling, realizing the blue moon is finally hitting the cavern. His face is bathed in that eerie, glowing light, and he looks completely terrified. Suddenly, the rabbit family transforms into absolute units, glowing red eyes and pure rage. He stands there totally stunned, wondering what kind of nightmare he just walked into. Those bunnies are hulking out, muscles bulging and teeth bared like they're ready for war. He tries to back away, but the sheer intensity of their transformation is blinding. A pair of rabbit ears twitches in the light, looking almost angelic before the chaos. A fluffy tail wiggles, and for a split second you'd think everything was still fine. But then the whole squad starts dancing around, looking way too happy for a bunch of monsters. Sejun stares into the blue-tinted darkness, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. He realizes his little rabbit roommates have hit a growth spurt and changed color. Crouching down, he tries to wrap his head around the fact that they're officially growing up. He covers his face in a mix of relief and emotional overload, sobbing because he thought they were goners. A dark-furred rabbit nuzzles against him, and he can't help but feel a little bit soft. He starts showering the little guys with affection, acting like a total doting parent. The cave ceiling opens up to the eerie light of the blue moon, signaling the shift. A rabbit pops out of the burrow, looking like it's ready to start the party. Sejun sits by the fire, watching his squad gather around and wondering if he should cook a feast. One of the bunnies waves its paw, looking absolutely hyped to celebrate this milestone together. A tiny white rabbit pops up, proudly brandishing a blue shovel like it just found buried treasure. Sejun's jaw hits the floor, his eyes wide as he realizes his farm crew is packing heat. The whole squad is flexing their new gear, with sickles, carts, and water cans appearing out of thin air. He stands there completely baffled, trying to wrap his head around how these bunnies are suddenly summoning tools. He turns to the black rabbit, wondering if this little guy has a trick up his sleeve too. That dark-furred bunny strikes a pose, waving its hand as a mysterious glowing object materializes. Out of nowhere, a massive wooden hammer slams into the frame, looking way too heavy for a rabbit. Sejun stares at the weapon with a confused look, questioning why a farmer would need a giant mallet. He catches himself mid-thought, realizing he's about to discover the true identity of his dark-furred friend. The system confirms the reveal, labeling the little guy as a warrior-class rabbit, and honestly, that tracks. The rabbit squad is fully locked in, watering the crops with those adorable little cans. Meanwhile, the green onion harvest is in full swing as the bunnies slice through stalks like pros. A wheelbarrow full of cherry tomatoes gets pushed along, showing off their top-tier logistics. Sejun watches the haul come in, directing his furry workers to the perfect spot for storage. He's getting all emotional, tearing up at how fast his little roommates are growing up. But then he spots the black rabbit just chilling on the ground, totally ignoring the grind. The little warrior is busy snacking on tomatoes, looking like it hasn't got a care in the world. Sejun starts roasting the bunny for being unemployed, wondering what a warrior is even good for. He realizes the hammer is useless for farming, so he pivots to the pond for a new plan. Grabbing a torch, he hypes up the rabbit to go full beast mode on some cavern fish. Sejun is out here looking like a caveman warrior, waving two flaming torches to bait the local wildlife. Suddenly, a massive piranha launches itself out of the water, jaws wide open and ready to bite. Sejun screams the signal, and his warrior rabbit leaps into the air with that wooden hammer. The bunny delivers a brutal glowing strike that sends shockwaves through the entire cavern. That hammer connects with a massive explosion of force, proving this rabbit is not playing around. Sejun stands there with his torch, looking absolutely shook by the sheer power of his tiny bodyguard. The warrior rabbit lands a clean hit, giving a thumbs up like it just finished a casual workout. Our guy is staring at the aftermath with his jaw on the floor, totally losing his mind. The prize of the hunt is revealed, a perfectly cooked skeletal fish dinner ready for the squad. The whole rabbit family gathers around the feast, looking like they're about to have the best meal ever. Sejun is playing the supportive coach, telling his bunnies that practice makes perfect. He keeps the mood light and encouraging, making sure his little squad stays fed and happy. The rabbits are finally settling into their roles, with one pushing a cart and another digging. Meanwhile, the warrior rabbit is still putting in work at the pond, keeping the fish supply steady. The system pings that the seed store is back online after the 125th day. Sejun gets hyped to see what is on the menu, ready to drop some serious coin on new crops. He checks the prices and realizes the market is absolutely cooked compared to last time. With his measly 0.9 coins, he is basically priced out of everything except the waxy corn. He starts stressing about how to actually make money in this tower without dying. Breaking down the 3 ways to get rich, he realizes he is stuck in a total grind with no easy way out. Sejun is spiraling over the tower manager's cryptic quest, looking like he's about to lose his mind. He sits on the dusty ground, begging the system for his hard-earned coins like a desperate gambler. The system hits him with a cold reality check, claiming it doesn't even know what coins are. Our guy is absolutely baffled by the manager's secret keeping, wondering how long he's actually stuck here. He starts ranting about passing his debt down to 7 generations of imaginary grandkids. Reality hits him hard when he realizes he's totally single and has no way to make that happen. He forces himself to calm down, realizing that getting angry is just a waste of his precious energy. Shifting gears, he decides to focus on the grind and checks his limited options in the shop. He settles on the waxy corn seeds, figuring he can at least turn them into some decent bread. The transaction goes through, and he finally pours those golden seeds into his palm, ready to plant. Sejun shows off his fresh haul of waxy corn seeds, asking the rabbit if they look solid. He rallies the troops for a massive farming session, pumping his fist in the air like a coach. Suddenly his stomach lets out a roar, reminding him that even a farmer needs to refuel. He gets the fire going and grills up some fish, serving it alongside a side of tomatoes. Full and satisfied, he flops onto the ground and decides to dry the leftovers for later storage. The poison honeybee zips over, and Sejun welcomes the little bug with a friendly, casual greeting. He asks the bee if it's okay to stay in the cave instead of returning to its home. Laughing at how cute the bug is, he lets it nuzzle against his cheek like a total pet. A sudden rustle breaks the moment, and the bee darts away with its wings buzzing in alarm. Sejun and his warrior rabbit jump up, eyes locked on a mysterious intruder emerging from the shadows. A pair of furry paws pops out of the bushes, frantically trying to clear up a massive misunderstanding. Sejun stares down the intruder, totally bewildered by the sight of a talking cat in his garden. The mysterious visitor leaps out from the greenery, landing with a graceful, practiced flair. It drops a heavy pack onto the dirt, looking like it's ready to start a serious business deal. A soft, white paw reaches out in a gesture of peace, signaling that this isn't a fight. The cat introduces itself with a cheerful grin, looking way too professional for a stray. It beams with a bright, friendly expression, clearly proud of its reputation as a wandering merchant. Sejun stands there, completely stunned as the cat and his rabbit squad share a moment of confusion. The merchant reaches out to shake hands, confirming its identity while Sejun tries to process the absurdity. Our guy is left reeling, realizing that the fabled merchant he heard about is just a ginger cat. Theo the cat is out here weaponizing his cuteness, flashing those giant shiny eyes and chubby cheeks. He even shows off his soft jelly-like paw pads, clearly trying to manipulate Sejun into a deal. Sejun is internally screaming that this is a total scam, but he is absolutely losing his mind over how adorable the cat is. The merchant cat asks for his attention, acting all professional while Sejun tries to keep his cool. Theo bows low, explaining he tracked down the rookie who made those seed store transactions. He opens his pack to show off his inventory, promising he has some top-tier loot for sale. The cat suddenly apologizes for the awkward intro, admitting he hasn't eaten a single thing all day. He looks a bit embarrassed about his unprofessional behavior, but he keeps that charming smile glued to his face. Sejun's expression shifts into a terrifying, predatory grin, realizing he has the upper hand in this negotiation. He leans in to confirm the cat's name, already plotting how to use this hungry merchant to his advantage. Sejun dangles a perfectly roasted fish in front of the cat, practically daring him to resist. Theo's eyes go wide as saucers, his mouth watering while he stares down that golden, crispy snack. The merchant cat tries to play it cool, claiming he has a strict policy against touching customer food. Our guy just keeps pushing the fish closer, baiting the cat with that irresistible smoky aroma. Theo finally snaps and dives face first into the meal, completely abandoning all his professional dignity. He's absolutely gorging himself, looking like he hasn't seen a decent meal in weeks. The little merchant is sprawled out on the ground, totally stuffed and clutching a fish bone. Sejun watches the feast with a satisfied smirk, knowing he's got the cat right where he wants him. The cat bows in gratitude for the treat, but Sejun immediately pivots to the business side of things. He hits the merchant with a cold demand for payment, proving that in this tower nothing is ever free. Sejun shuts down the cat's attempt at a freebie, reminding him that nothing in this tower comes without a price. Theo looks absolutely shook, realizing his charm offensive just hit a brick wall of pure, cold business logic. Sejun drops a half-coin payment for the meal, and the cat is practically weeping with joy at the sight of it. He celebrates securing his first real coin, while the merchant cat looks like he's having a total existential crisis. Theo is straight up sobbing, mourning the fact that his big sales pitch turned into a charity event. The cat quickly pulls it together, desperate to salvage his reputation and actually sell some gear. He rolls out his wares, showing off a tumbler, a mini fan, and a hand warmer like he's on a shopping channel. Sejun eyes the goods, realizing these aren't just random trinkets but actual tech from the outside world. Theo demonstrates the tumbler's preservation magic, acting like he's holding the most legendary artifact in existence. He flips the switch on the mini fan and the wind magic kicks in, leaving Sejun totally impressed by the tech. Sejun stops the sales pitch dead in its tracks, totally unimpressed by the cat's fancy gear. He hits Theo with the brutal truth, calling out all those enchanted items as straight-up garbage. The cat loses his mind, defending his inventory like his life depends on it. Theo looks absolutely devastated, his big eyes welling up as his business model crumbles. Sejun keeps it real, explaining that the tumbler is just basic physics, not some mystical artifact. He points out that the fan and heater are just battery-powered junk that will die in hours. The cat tries to deny the reality, insisting that a goblin named Scarum promised him real magic. Sejun watches the fan sputter and die, proving once and for all that the merchant got played. Theo starts spiraling, hitting the fan in a desperate, futile attempt to make it spin again. The poor cat breaks down in a full-blown tantrum, realizing he got scammed by a goblin. Sejun is trying to comfort the sobbing cat, while the bunnies just stand there looking totally confused. Theo finally spills the tea, admitting he's just a merchant from the neutral 75th floor. He starts reminiscing about his crush, Meryl, the absolute queen of Granner Village. Flashback time, and we see poor Theo trying to woo her with a bouquet of basic rice fish. Meryl is having none of it, looking absolutely disgusted by the cheap, fishy offering. She straight up swats the gift away, leaving Theo looking like his heart just got shattered. He's still reeling from the rejection, complaining about how much effort he put into those snacks. Then the main character, Energy, arrives as a tuxedo-wearing cat struts onto the scene. It's Oren, the rich kid of the village, showing off a massive salmon like he's flexing a luxury car. He roasts Theo for being broke, while Meryl looks on, completely ignoring the drama about her diet. Meryl is absolutely losing her mind over that salmon, eyes sparkling like she just hit the jackpot. Oren drags her away to his place for a fancy dinner, leaving poor Theo in the dust. Our boy Theo tries to grab her hand, desperate to keep the vibe alive. He starts rambling about their shared history, acting like they were basically soulmates. The guy is clearly living in a fantasy world, ignoring the massive red flags. Meryl stares him down, demanding to know if he can actually back up his claims with proof. She starts painting a picture of their past, making it sound like a total fairy tale. But then she snaps back to reality, swatting his hand away like he's a common pest. She goes full savage mode, telling him to stop acting like a creep and get a grip. Meryl storms off into the storm, leaving Theo to deal with the absolute wreckage of his ego. Meryl goes full savage, roasting Theo for being a broke cat who reeks of cheap fish. She leaves him in the dirt, and our guy is absolutely spiraling with a tearful wail. He explains to Sejun that he hit rock bottom and decided to chase that merchant bag. The cat shows off his official license, bragging about dropping his entire life savings on the dream. He was just a naive rookie looking for a score when he first bumped into Scaram. That shady goblin introduces himself with a grin, acting like he's the ultimate mentor figure. Flashback to the tavern, where Theo is wide-eyed and clueless about the world outside the tower. Scaram plays the long game, convincing the cat that selling mundane junk is a goldmine. The goblin feigns pure kindness, claiming he's just helping out a junior merchant for the vibes. He pressures the poor cat into the deal, and Theo falls for the bait hook, line, and sinker. Scaram plays the ultimate snake, handing over a map to the new seed store user like it's a golden ticket. He even has the audacity to demand a beer for his so-called helpful tip. Theo looks absolutely crushed, recounting how he blew his entire life savings on those useless trinkets. The poor cat is sobbing his eyes out on the floor while Sejun watches, totally unimpressed by the drama. Our guy realizes this cat is a total pushover, but then a light bulb goes off in his head. He suddenly remembers a way to finally snag a tower coin, and he is looking absolutely hyped. Sejun tries to play it cool, offering the cat some fish to stop the waterworks. The merchant is still suspicious, wondering if this is just another trap to get him to pay up. He promises the food is a freebie and pivots to the real deal, asking the cat to join his crew. Sejun is grinning like he just pulled off the heist of the century, officially locking in his new business partner. Theo looks absolutely shook, his little cat brain struggling to process the idea of a partnership. Sejun keeps the pressure on, pitching himself as the supplier and the cat as his sales rep. The merchant cat is still doubting his own worth, feeling like a total failure after his recent scam. Our guy isn't having any of that self-pity, insisting that Theo has the skills to make this work. The cat is still trying to wrap his head around the sudden offer, looking totally bewildered. Sejun calls out to the rabbit squad, signaling that it is time to celebrate the new alliance. One of the bunnies shows up in a floral outfit, looking like it's ready for a beach vacation. Our hero kicks back on a lounge chair, sipping a drink like he's at a five-star resort. The whole crew is chilling under the shade, with the cat finally getting a taste of the good life. Sejun breaks down the plan, promising the cat a cut of the profits if he helps move the goods. Sejun is laying out the ground rules for his new business partner, keeping the vibe strictly professional. He explains that Theo needs to hustle and sell goods above the set price to make any real bank. The commission is set at a measly 3 to 5%, which has the poor cat looking absolutely stressed. Theo is clearly sweating the math, thinking the deal is way too lopsided against his favor. Our boy Sejun isn't letting him off the hook, acting like he's doing the cat a massive favor. He calls over the rabbit squad, who are literally holding the fish as if they're part of the contract. The bunnies look adorable, but are clearly the muscle behind this whole operation. Theo is staring at the fish with pure longing, his self-control hanging by a literal thread. He's drooling like a faucet, struggling to keep his dignity while the smell of grilled fish fills the cave. Finally, the cat tries to negotiate a higher payout, hoping to snag 20 fish just to consider the deal. Sejun goes full boss mode, tossing a mountain of grilled fish at the cat like he's making it rain. Theo is absolutely losing his mind, his eyes turning into sparkling saucers at the sight of 25 fish. Our guy seals the deal by promising unlimited fish whenever the merchant is hanging out at the farm. He leans in with that classic, slightly unhinged grin, making sure the cat knows exactly what he's getting into. The merchant is straight up vibrating with joy, his little paws pressed together in pure, unadulterated excitement. Sejun calls for the paperwork, ready to make this business partnership official before the cat can change his mind. He whips out a quill and parchment, looking like he's about to sign the most important treaty in the tower. Both parties press their marks onto the document, locking in their fates with a single, decisive stamp. The contract is officially signed, and Sejun looks like he just secured the bag of the century. Theo suddenly realizes he's been played, his jaw dropping as the reality of his new employment finally hits him. Theo freaks out as the contract starts floating away, clearly regretting his life choices already. That magical document glows with an eerie light, sealing the deal with some high-tech tower energy. The full contract appears in the air, listing every brutal condition Sejun just forced on the poor cat. Sejun looks at the floating screen with a smug grin, totally geeking out over how legit this feels. Theo is absolutely spiraling, wondering how he got roped into such a one-sided, binding nightmare. The cat tries to push back by pointing out the termination clause, hoping for a way out. Sejun just laughs it off, acting like a supportive mentor while he pats the cat's head. He hypes up his new partner with a cheesy nickname, making the cat purr despite the stress. Our boy Sejun is internally roasting the cat for being so easily manipulated by a little praise. He finally pivots to the real business, asking what kind of junk the cat actually plans to sell. Sejun plays it cool, acting like he's just moving some basic produce for the day. Theo is totally baffled, wondering why anyone would pay actual money for a simple tomato. Our guy holds up the goods, showing off the harvest like he's pitching a revolutionary product. The cat inspects the fruit, crunching the numbers and realizing the potential profit margin is insane. Sejun drops the price tag, and Theo loses his mind at the sheer audacity of the cost. The merchant cat starts sweating, realizing this deal is his only shot at redemption and survival. Sejun leans in with a shark-like grin, ready to dump a massive order on his new partner. He demands 1,000 units, while the rabbit squad stands by with a mountain of supplies. The farmer points out the massive pile of fish, wondering how the cat plans to haul it. Theo whips out his magical bundle, showing off that space-bending tech like a total pro. Theo, the merchant cat, tosses his magical bundle into the air, ready to pack up his haul. With a flick of his wrist, he activates the storage magic that sucks up the tomatoes and fish. The bundle lands back on the ground with a heavy thud, now packed with all the goods. Sejun watches the display with a look of pure awe, totally impressed by the convenient tech. The cat gives a cheerful wave, promising he will be back soon to continue their business. Our farmer and his rabbit squad wave goodbye as the merchant heads out of the cavern. Jumping ahead a few days, we find ourselves on the 38th floor of the tower. A terrifying, multi-eyed monster is cornered by a group of adventurers looking for a fight. The warrior in the party clashes his glowing energy blade against the beast's massive, sharp claws. Fireballs rain down from the casters, blasting the monster into the dirt as the battle intensifies. Kim Dongshik stands tall after absolutely wrecking that monster with a single, clean sword strike. He shuts down the fangirl energy from Jessica, warning her not to pull any shady stunts. The guild leader crosses his arms, looking like he's ready to call it a day and head out. Suddenly, he senses something lurking in the brush and snaps into a defensive stance. A mysterious cat emerges from the shadows, raising a paw to get their attention. The ginger merchant trots out, hitting them with that signature sales pitch in the classic cat dialect. The adventurers are completely blindsided, staring at the little guy like they've never seen a merchant cat. They swarm the tiny trader, totally obsessed with how adorable he sounds when he says Naya. Turns out Sejun was the mastermind behind this whole marketing strategy, coaching the cat on his brand. The merchant finally reveals his secret stash of magical cherry tomatoes to the stunned crowd. The adventurers are staring at the tiny red fruit like it's some kind of alien artifact. They're clearly unimpressed, roasting the cat for trying to peddle snacks instead of actual gear. Theo isn't backing down, leaning into his merchant persona and telling them they have no clue. He tells them to check the stats, and you can see the skepticism fading into pure curiosity. The blue system window pops up, revealing the magic cherry tomatoes stats to the confused group. They're still acting like the price is a total scam, ready to walk away from the deal. Suddenly, the mage catches a glimpse of the hidden effect and stops the whole squad dead. That text about losing body fat hits them like a truck, changing the entire vibe instantly. The whole party is vibrating with excitement, realizing they just stumbled onto a goldmine of fitness. They're absolutely hooked now, staring at the tomatoes like they're the most legendary loot in the tower. The adventurers are losing their minds over the tomatoes' weight loss stats, practically begging for a bite. Theo is thriving in the chaos, watching as these muscleheads scramble to buy out his entire inventory. They're literally fighting each other for the goods, completely ignoring their own dignity in the process. Our favorite merchant cat is holding the line, forcing these impatient warriors to wait their turn. Back at the farm, Sejun gets a sweet system notification that he just leveled up from the sales. He's busy harvesting more crops with his bunny sidekick, wondering how the big deal is going down. He talks himself through the tomato's secret sauce, realizing he's basically selling a miracle diet pill. Munching on a snack, he confirms there are zero side effects and it actually tastes like a win. Looking up at the cave ceiling, he knows this product is about to make him absolute bank. He clenches his fist with a confident smirk, ready to dominate the market with his earth-grown diet. Theo the merchant cat is absolutely devastated, staring at his empty bag after a total sellout. Sejun sits in the dirt with his rabbit buddy, crunching the numbers on their latest harvest. He notes that out of 1,000 carrot seeds, only 700 actually decided to grow. The magic cherry tomatoes aren't doing much better, with only 732 sprouts in the field. He admits the germination rate is hovering around 70%, which is honestly kind of mid. Our guy blames his low farmer level or the lack of sunlight in this depressing cave. He decides to stay positive and keep grinding, convinced he will find a better way eventually. With the merchant cat now on the payroll, he knows they need to maximize every single crop. The warrior rabbit takes the night shift, swinging a glowing green onion torch to light up the pond. He starts smashing those piranhas with a wooden hammer, turning the cavern into a literal fish factory. Sejun strolls through the farm, giving props to his black rabbit for being a total beast at fishing. Suddenly, the little guy starts glowing with a wild blue aura, signaling a massive level up. Sejun kneels down to pet his warrior, hyped that he is finally seeing a black rabbit evolve. The rabbit strikes a pose, looking proud as the other bunnies cheer for their homie's big moment. Our farmer decides it is time to call it a day and treat the squad to a well-earned break. He pulls out a secret stash of coffee, looking like he just found the holy grail of luxury items. Popping the lid open, he reveals a treasure trove of instant coffee sticks he snagged from the merchant. He laughs at the irony of Scaram, the goblin being too dumb to realize what he actually had. Sejun starts tearing open a packet, already stressing that he might go broke just buying his own supply. He pours the grounds into a bottle, ready to enjoy a high-class caffeine fix in the middle of a dungeon. Sejun is straight up spoiling his little bee buddy, giving it some well-deserved head pats for all that hard work. He's mixing up a fresh batch of that legendary honey Americano, blending cave water with the bee's premium golden nectar. The final drink looks like a total vibe, served in a plastic bottle with a makeshift bamboo straw. Sejun takes a massive gulp, clearly loving the sweet and bitter combo that hits just right. He offers a sip to the rabbit squad, wanting to see if they can handle the high-class caffeine. The black rabbit steps up to the plate, taking a long, confident slurp from the straw. Suddenly, the poor bunny's face goes completely pale, looking like he just tasted pure, unadulterated regret. Sejun is dying of laughter, realizing that rabbits clearly have a much more sensitive palate than humans. He calls out to the poison bee, who flies over with a cheerful buzz to show off something new. The bee reveals a massive, freshly crafted beehive, leaving Sejun and the bunnies absolutely stunned by the surprise. Sejun is living his best life, hanging out with his rabbit squad and the bee. Suddenly, a system window pops up, demanding he hand over 10 magic cherry tomatoes. He realizes the tower manager is finally catching on to his little business deal with Theo. Our guy decides to play nice and hands over the goods to complete the quest. He's feeling pretty smug about getting a thank you from the system for his kindness. But then he has a total moment of weakness, questioning if he's acting like a total pushover. Meanwhile, we shift to a tavern where things are looking a bit more shady. Scaram the goblin is sitting around with his crew, wondering where his favorite victim went. He's bragging to his buddies about how easily he scammed that cat out of his savings. The goblin is getting impatient, annoyed that Theo hasn't come back to complain about the junk items. Scaram is plotting his next move, acting like he's some kind of saint for noticing the cat. He lays out a twisted plan to trap Theo in a cycle of debt and fake opportunities. The goblin explains how he'll use usury to bleed the cat dry until he's completely broke. His eyes glow with pure malice as he fantasizes about turning the merchant into a lifelong slave. His lackeys are eating it up, calling him a genius while they sit around the tavern. Scaram brushes off the need to hunt the cat down, insisting they just let the prey come to them. The crew pulls up their merchant rankings to see how the scam is paying off in real time. Scaram points at the screen with a smug grin, finally cracking the top 1,000 list. His buddies are losing their minds over his success, feeling totally pathetic for not even being ranked. The goblin cackles while eyeing the names above him, already planning who he's going to ruin next. The merchant ranking board just updated, and Theo is officially sitting at 982nd place. Back at the tavern, the goblin crew is whispering in the shadows, totally confused by the sudden climb. Scaram is absolutely losing his cool, slamming his fist down because he knows that Cat shouldn't have sold a single thing. Suddenly, the man of the hour pops back into the farm, looking way too happy for a guy who just traveled across the tower. Sejun is caught completely off guard, staring at his merchant partner like he just saw a ghost. The cat is frantically apologizing for his absence, while Sejun is still trying to process the timeline of the trip. Our farmer points out the math, realizing the cat was gone for 4 days despite claiming it would take 10. Theo tries to explain himself, but he's clearly hiding the fact that he absolutely crushed his sales goals. Sejun does the quick math in his head, realizing the cat must have sold out the second he arrived. He grabs the cat by the scruff, ready to demand the truth about just how much bank they actually made. Sejun goes full villain mode, looming over the cat with a terrifying, wide-eyed grin. Poor Theo is shaking in his boots, spilling the beans about his massive sales success. The cat hands over a bag of 50 tower coins, looking like he just survived an interrogation. Our guy stares at the single gold coin in his hand, realizing he's finally making real money. He tosses a couple of coins back as an incentive, but immediately drops the hammer on the cat. Sejun demotes the merchant for taking 4 days to return, demanding much higher efficiency next time. The cat is totally confused by the sudden shift in tone, asking why he's acting so weird. Our farmer laughs off the concern, bragging that his name is about to become legendary. He explains that the tomato stats reveal his identity, which is the ultimate marketing hack. Theo stares back with wide, sparkling eyes, finally realizing his boss is a total genius. Theo is absolutely spiraling, his eyes wide with pure panic as he realizes he messed up. He's convinced that if Sejun finds out the truth, he's getting fired on the spot. The system policy is basically a massive cockblock, hiding the cultivator's identity to protect the market. Theo is sweating bullets, terrified he'll be demoted to an intern or even a part-timer. He gets right in Sejun's face, looking like he's about to have a total meltdown. Our boy Sejun is just confused, wondering why the cat is acting so incredibly sus. Theo tries to play it cool, begging to get back to work before he loses his mind. He's already back in the fields, frantically tossing tomatoes into the bag like his life depends on it. The cat is hyper-focused on hitting that 1,000 coin milestone to finally unlock the truth. Meanwhile, a random adventurer is getting a text from his daughter, totally obsessed with those magic tomatoes. Kim Dongshik is absolutely weeping over his phone, looking like he just watched the saddest movie ever. He's pouring his heart out to his guildmates about his daughter's struggle with her diet. The guy is clearly emotional because she finally told him she loves her dear old dad. He's kicking himself for not buying out the entire stock of those magical cherry tomatoes. His buddy chimes in, confirming that the girls are totally obsessed with the merchant cat's fruit. Another guild member flexes his own success, claiming the tomatoes helped him land a new girlfriend. The squad is losing their minds, begging to buy any leftover tomatoes at a massive markup. Dongshik snaps back to reality, realizing he needs to mobilize the whole guild for a mission. Suddenly, Jessica and the rest of the female members show up in full workout gear. They're totally trying to play it cool, but they're clearly just here to secure those tomatoes. The guild leader is absolutely hyped, rallying his squad to follow him into the fray. He is dead set on snagging those magic tomatoes to prove he is a top-tier dad. The forest is quiet, but our favorite merchant cat is wandering through the trees. Theo is feeling the pressure, stressing over his sales quota and that elusive coin milestone. He is doing the math on his storage bundle, realizing he has a long road ahead. The cat spots the familiar clearing where the humans were hanging out just the other day. Suddenly, the adventurers pop out of the bushes, catching the poor merchant totally off guard. They are swarming him like fans at a concert, desperate to get their hands on the goods. Theo is trying to keep his cool, while the lead warrior demands the stash of tomatoes. The cat is genuinely shocked that these guys camped out for 3 days just for a snack. Sejun tries to negotiate the usual price, but the cat merchant is already playing hardball. Theo drops the bomb that the price has skyrocketed, flashing that signature cat grin. The adventurers are totally blindsided by the sudden hike, looking like they've been robbed. Our favorite merchant cat doubles down, confirming the new rate is now 0.07 coins. Theo looks absolutely delighted by the chaos, his little face beaming with pure merchant energy. He starts sweating bullets, wondering if he pushed his luck a bit too far this time. The adventurers don't even blink, slamming a bag of coins down to secure their stash. They are desperate to buy, convinced that missing out now would be a total disaster. Theo is left completely shook as 1,500 tomatoes vanish in a total feeding frenzy. The cat promises to return in 10 days, leaving the squad hungry for more of that sweet, sweet loot. The warrior gives a firm nod, agreeing that 10 days is a solid window to regroup. He rallies his squad to finish the spider quest so they can finally bounce from the tower. Theo is absolutely buzzing, realizing he's found a goldmine of repeat customers to hit his coin goal. Our favorite merchant cat tries to make a smooth exit, keeping his professional persona on point. But then Suha steps in, looking at the cat with a weirdly intense sense of recognition. She asks her friend if the cat looks familiar, and she totally agrees they're practically twins. Theo is having none of it, correcting her on his name while trying to keep his cool. Suha presses him on the resemblance, clearly convinced he's someone she's met in a past life. The cat shuts down the conversation with a sassy remark and starts speedwalking away from the drama. Suha isn't letting him off that easy, reaching out with a mysterious red item to stop him in his tracks. Suha pulls out a churu snack, trying to bribe the cat with the ultimate feline treat. Theo is visibly conflicted, his merchant pride clashing with his overwhelming desire for that tasty snack. He finally caves and starts slurping it down, his eyes widening as he experiences flavor heaven. The cat is hooked instantly, begging for more flavors while his dignity completely goes out the window. Suha seizes the moment, offering a deal to trade more snacks for a quick photo op. Theo agrees to the terms, posing with a peace sign while Suha snaps the perfect selfie. The cat prances away in pure bliss, clutching his stash like he just robbed a bank. Suha's friends watch the whole scene, totally amused by how much joy a simple snack brings. She looks at her phone with a genuine, soft smile, clearly obsessed with her new furry friend. The final photo captures the duo looking absolutely adorable, sealing the deal on their unexpected friendship. The black rabbit is absolutely crushing his swimming training, splashing through the water like a pro. Sejun is coaching from the sidelines, telling his little warrior to keep that green onion tube steady. He's got the danger zone blocked off with a giant leaf to keep those nasty piranhas away. Our guy tells the bunny to ditch the float, reminiscing about the time he almost drowned. He still gets chills thinking about that near-death experience when he got too cocky after leveling up. Suddenly, the rabbit vanishes under the surface, and Sejun loses his mind in a total panic. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, terrified his favorite fishing buddy just became fish food. The little guy pops back up, looking totally unbothered while Sejun is still hyperventilating on the shore. Our farmer decides he needs a sugar rush to calm his nerves, digging through his bag for honey. He realizes he's completely out of stock and notices the bee's hive is looking suspiciously quiet. Sejun stands by the pond, totally shocked as he spots a tiny rabbit floating in the water. He looks up to see a massive, glowing golden hive swarming with tiny, winged poison bees. Our guy is completely floored, realizing the bee population has exploded while he wasn't looking. He decides it is time to pay his respects and offer a little congratulatory visit. Clutching a bundle of fresh yellow flowers, he prepares to offer a housewarming gift. He calls out to the bees, trying to get their attention with a friendly, casual wave. The farmer stands there like a total dork, flowers in hand, asking them to come outside. He stares up at the hive, feeling like a proud parent checking in on his growing colony. Suddenly, the bees shift into battle mode, their eyes glowing a menacing, deep red. Sejun freaks out as the bees and his rabbit squad prepare for a chaotic showdown. The queen bee is straight up pleading for her life, trying to tell them they aren't the enemy. Sejun is frantically waving his hands, begging his warrior rabbit to stand down before things get messy. The swarm of bees suddenly freezes in midair, sensing the tension radiating from the farmer. Our guy stands there with his flowers, totally confused as this majestic queen bee descends right in front of him. He points a finger, his jaw hitting the floor as he realizes this is the same little bee he raised. The queen bee hovers there looking like a total boss, surrounded by her loyal little minions. A system notification pops up, confirming that this is indeed the evolved queen poisonous honeybee. Sejun stares at her in disbelief, wondering how his tiny pollinator turned into this absolute unit. He recalls the brutal reality of the tower, where these things are usually cold-blooded, venomous predators. Meanwhile, the black dragon is sweating over a textbook, trying to make sense of this weird anomaly. The black dragon is losing her mind, frantically flipping through the handbook for any answers. She realizes the manual is totally useless for this specific, bizarre situation with the bees. Deciding to play it safe, she resolves to keep a close watch on the situation. She plans to grill her grandpa for answers later, hoping he knows what's going on. Meanwhile, the magical orb displays the scene, showing Sejun face to face with the evolved bee. Sejun is completely stunned, struggling to reconcile this humanoid queen with the cute bug he knew. The rabbit warrior is on high alert, ready to throw hands if the bee makes a move. The queen bee strikes a playful pose, clearly enjoying the confusion she's causing our farmer. A flashback reveals the bee's rapid growth, fueled by the high-quality nectar from Sejun's farm. Her evolution triggered a territorial shift, making the original queen suspicious of her rising power. Turns out, the little bug finally hit a milestone and gained the ability to lay eggs. That was the exact moment she decided to ditch the old hive and go independent. She scouted out Sejun's cave as the ultimate safe house and set up shop right there. But the process wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, as she suffered through some serious growing pains. It was a rough transition, marked by intense transformations that shook her entire world. Her body started shifting and evolving, cracking under the pressure of her new form. Eventually, she emerged as the majestic queen poisonous honeybee we see today. Sejun stands there with a bouquet of flowers, trying to play it cool despite the awkward timing. He offers the gift to the queen, who looks absolutely stunned by the kind gesture. She immediately drops the act and tackles him with a massive hug, totally loving the attention. Sejun is getting absolutely smothered by the queen bee, who is clearly obsessed with him. He's totally overwhelmed as the rest of the swarm decides to join the cuddle puddle. The rabbit squad watches the chaos from the sidelines, looking like they're just happy to be included. A few days pass in the blink of an eye, and the cave is looking peaceful again. But then the rabbits start acting super frantic, dragging Sejun out of his slumber. He's groggy and confused, complaining that he just wanted to sleep through the blue moon. The bunnies lead him straight to the garden, pointing at a glowing purple carrot in the dirt. Sejun realizes the blue moon energy has mutated his crop, even though it's still tiny. He gives the rabbits a knowing look, finally understanding why they were acting like total maniacs. Grabbing the greens with a firm grip, he prepares to yank the prize from the earth. Sejun pulls the glowing purple carrot from the dirt, looking like he just struck gold. He checks the system stats and realizes this bad boy is actually an agility carrot. The item description confirms it's packed with blue moon energy and boosts agility by 0.05. A flurry of system notifications hits his screen, showing his job experience points skyrocketing. He's genuinely shocked that harvesting high-tier crops gives him way more experience than the usual grind. Realizing this isn't his personal stash, he hands the prize over to his hardworking rabbit squad. The bunnies are absolutely stoked, gathering around the carrot with pure excitement in their eyes. One of the rabbits pulls out a sickle, ready to process the harvest like a pro. He starts slicing the carrot into perfect rounds, moving with the precision of a master chef. The rest of the crew catches the slices, ready to feast on their well-earned reward. Sejun is absolutely losing his mind, cheering on his rabbit squad for their insane knife skills. The sickle-wielding rabbit and his black-furred partner share a snack, looking like total bros. Our farmer is back in the garden, harvesting 5 fresh cherry tomatoes from the latest blue moon. He hands over the goods to the system, finally completing that quest for the tower manager. The system confirms the delivery, but Sejun is already pushing his luck by demanding a new skill. A notification pops up saying the manager is gonna think about it, leaving our guy hanging. Sejun is visibly annoyed, wondering why the system is acting so stingy with his rewards. The cat merchant suddenly appears, looking absolutely terrified as the bees start swarming around him. Our farmer realizes the baby bees don't recognize Theo and are treating him like a total intruder. He quickly scoops up the cat to prove he is part of the family, saving him from a sting. Theo tries to get all cozy and calls Sejun his brother, but the farmer is having none of that. Sejun grabs the cat by the scruff, reminding him that he is just an employee who needs to stay in his lane. The cat hands over the bag of cash, looking like he is ready to get back to business and avoid a firing. Sejun counts up 75 coins and gives the cat a nod, acknowledging the hard work. Theo gets all excited and reveals he jacked up the prices on the humans, acting like a total legend. He begs for some praise and asks if he is finally worthy of the title of sales cat. Sejun tosses him a few coins as a bonus, but shuts down the promotion talk immediately. The cat looks absolutely crushed, getting some sympathy pats from the rabbit while Sejun stays cold. Our farmer just smirks to himself, revealing he already knew about the price hike the whole time. He thanks the tower manager for the intel and promises to drop another blue moon crop as a reward. Theo is absolutely losing his mind over that churu treat, slurping it down like it's the finest dining in the tower. Sejun watches the cat go feral and asks what the heck he's actually eating. The merchant cat happily explains it's a churu, a total game changer he scored from a human fan. Our guy is genuinely baffled that a human would waste precious inventory space just to bribe a cat. He starts breaking down the two ways items actually make it into this death trap of a tower. Vanishing is the first way, where new arrivals just bring whatever junk they happen to be holding. Awakened hunters are the second way, though they're strictly limited to carrying only 1 kilogram of gear. He lists off the usual suspects like hunter phones, instant meals, and those addictive cigarettes. Sejun starts connecting the dots, realizing that if hunters are bringing in snacks, he can totally exploit that. A light bulb goes off in his head, and he's already cooking up a genius new business scheme. Sejun is straight up vibrating with excitement, looming over the cat with a look that screams pure, unadulterated greed. Theo is visibly sweating, clutching his precious snack like a lifeline while wondering why his boss is suddenly acting so terrifyingly weird.